bit wonky. So hello lovely people, and welcome to the April 2019 episode of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. My name is Leslie and this is a knitting, crochet, general yarn craft podcast recorded in the southeast of the UK. My name on Ravelry and on all sort of social media is Knitting or Death. So if you want to find me anywhere else, that's where I'll be. There's also a podcast group on Ravelry, which you're very welcome to join. Also on there, you'll see details of the year-long knit-along, which I'm co-hosting with the lovely Barbara from the Flame and Fibre podcast. I'll put a little link to the video up on the top, which gives all the rules. But essentially, they're very simple. Projects made from stash that was in your possession as at the end of last year, and the project can't have been started before the 1st of January this year, so it's just using what you've had to make something gorgeous. So that's it. Very simple. We don't do complicated around here. Life's too short. If you're wondering why it's called Not Quite Enough Yarn when I have 3 cupboards worth, it's because I rarely have enough to finish a project. And I end up putting in a stripe or a bit of contrast or a fade or a block of some sort because I don't have quite enough yarn to do the whole thing. So that's where the name comes from. Although actually I think this month, if I get it finished, I am going to show you a garment which is all made of the same yarn. That's not what you signed up for. I'll give you fair warning when I'm about to put it in. I record throughout the month and just piece it all together and then upload on the last weekend of the month. So you'll see me recording in different places, looking different levels of smartness depending on if I'm going to work or not, and with different hair. Those who've seen the podcast before will know that my hair used to be kind of this length and now it's this short. It was getting on my nerves, so I got rid of it. It was time. People who've known me for a long time haven't said much because this is how I always used to look, and then I just let it grow. So this is kind of where we're at now. So yes, new hair. I'm not going to say new me because it's the same old me. Sorry about that. But you are very welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you see this month. It's April. It's really nice and bright. It has been the last couple of weeks. Flowers are coming into bloom. Everything feels a bit more positive because it's nice and light. Apologies to anyone in the southern hemisphere who's going into winter. Sorry. You had yours 6 months ago, you'll have it again in 6 months. It's the way the world works, we know this. But yeah, it's really beginning to feel a bit kind of bright. It's been nice and sunny. Still quite chilly, so still able to wear some sweaters, but nice and sunny. So yeah, it's been good weather. Everyone's been a bit more cheerful. Even me. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoy. Please do add your comments down below. I love to see what people say. So thank you, and let's crack on, shall we? Right, I'm just going to give you a quick update on the retreat that I went on. It was a mindfulness and meditation retreat. Really enjoyed it. A lot of rest, a lot of R&R, bit of crochet as well. I was working on the Janelle by Dora Orenstein, and if I can find my progress keeper, I did that much, which doesn't seem a lot, but these rows are long. So I got a bit done. It would have been more had I not fallen asleep for about 2 hours in the afternoon. I'm going to put some pictures here of the place. So it's a house that was built in 1652, I think they said, so rather ancient. Thankfully the plumbing was more up to date. That all got, things like that matter to me. And the countryside it's in. I'm going to put footage in here. Just absolutely beautiful. We were very fortunate with the weather. Beautiful spring day, as you can see by all the daffodils, but in the loveliest of settings. And this is all half an hour away from where I live. I'm very, very, very lucky in that respect. So yeah, really nice time. And this little summer house here, I went to crochet and stayed to sleep. And some of the other people were out walking and they came past, and apparently they were all going to each other because I was to the world. I did say to them, if you think it's the lawnmowers you can hear, it might be my snoring. Sorry. But no, really nice weekend. Back home now, in time to do laundry and watch Line of Duty on TV tonight. So that's about the extent of that. But yeah, really nice weekend, and I hope this footage shows you just how lovely the countryside was where we were. And just seeing the spring flowers in bloom is great. And a bit of crochet done, so everyone's a winner. Hello lovely people. I have today being 13th of April, been over to Eastbourne, which is about half an hour that way, and went to a textile, they call it fibre festival, it was textiles generally. Now, people who've been watching the podcast for a long time, thank you, and you may remember this time last year I went to the same thing. Unfortunately it's still upstairs, so a bit restrictive to some people who can't get there because of mobility, which is a bit annoying. Himself came with me this time, and you'll see the net effect of that in a moment. But some of the stalls that were there are the same as last time, others were different. So here's some footage of my trip. So as you can see from that, it is quite small. It's the building is some old railway sheds which have been made into they call it the Enterprise Centre, and it's got lots of little shops, kiosks. They're trying to kind of pitch it as a little bit boutique, a little bit unusual, stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see in other places. Upstairs is an open space. There are some shops upstairs as well, and that's where they had these things laid out. So probably had about 15-20 vendors. They did run a few workshops, none of which really appealed to me, which is why I wasn't there for very long. But there were some nice things on offer, and I am going to start by showing you something. There it is. Now this is a new dyer who actually, it turns out, they live about 1.5 miles from me that way. We got chatting, found that out. They are called chintz pies, and they had their yarn was very affordable. I don't know if that was kind of a show special or because they're new or what it was, but very, very good prices. And I was sort of pulling through a few out, and there was one that made me go, oh, and so that was the one that came home with me. And because himself was with me, he bought it for me because he's lovely. So thanks, lovely himself. And this is it. Now I'm hoping it will show up pretty reasonably. It's actually a little brighter. The colours are a little richer than are showing up. I think it's the light. That's better because I'm against the window here. But yeah, just really pretty. And she also had some lovely turquoise and pink, which sounds an odd combination but really worked well. But this is a 4-ply sock yarn, 75% merino wool, 25% nylon. And like I say, you can see the label there. So that's Chintz Pies. They have an Etsy shop, which I'll link in the do free below. And hopefully, because she lives very close to me, she'll start coming to our knitting night as well, which would be good fun. So yes, that just was, I was doing this, so it really did have to come home with me because no one else would want it after that. I also went to a booth, things falling over, sorry, a booth that I went to last year. And this time last year we had got to 1,000 subscribers on this podcast, and I bought some yarn which I gave away as a prize. This year, as I record this, I think we're about 35 away from 3,000 subscribers, which is just phenomenal. So thank you to everyone. So if we hit the 3k, there will be a giveaway, a 3k giveaway. And same producer, Isle Inspired Yarn. Now she does some naturally dyed yarn. Why do I keep losing things today? It's hiding. She does naturally dyed yarn, but also she had some really lovely undyed yarn. And so I got 3 balls. They're about 103 meters each, 25 grams. Pure wool, and I thought for anyone venturing into colour work, these would be great for contrast. The yarn itself, I was speaking with the lady and I was impressed by how soft this is, because it looks very kind of rustic and toothy, and I thought it would be really quite rough and scratchy, but it's very, very soft. And she was saying that she used to use the Jameson and Smith Shetland, would it be? Yes, Jameson and Smith Shetland wool. And then when she went to Shetland, she came across their heritage wool. And that's what this is, and it's so much softer. So although it is, in many ways, your superwash, 4-ply, fingering weight, would work with any other yarn of that type, it is much, much softer. So it's a lovely yarn. I have bought something, and I'm not sure if it counts or not, but well, I bought it, and it's not actually yarn, but it will be one day. There was a lady there. This is Falkland Merino, and who isn't going to buy a rainbow? Come on, you know, I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. And these, I don't know how much they weigh, I haven't weighed them, but she had them on offer for £2 each. £2. Can't even get a cup of tea for that. So, it was rude not to. And I don't like to be rude. So I have 3 of the little darlings. I haven't tried to spin yet any of the fibre that I bought at Unravel. And I figured, I got 3 of these because I figured my first one can be pure and simple experimentation. It's, I mean, if I can get something decent out of it, that'll be great. But if not, it costs £2. I can live with losing that, and I have 2 others to get better on. So that's my thought process. So although I have gone against my yarn diet in a little way, I'm convincing myself that I haven't. And it's a bit like, you know, birthday cake doesn't count as calories. It's that kind of logic. Work with me, people. So that's, excuse me, that's my purchase. So at some point I will be trying to spin these, like I say, 100% Falklands Merino, a rainbow for £2. I couldn't not. It would have been, I'd have regretted not buying it. So that's that. So that was my day out, well, not even a day out, my morning out in Eastbourne. And we managed to avoid the bad weather on most of it. Obviously this is a podcast from Sussex, so you need a weather report. On the walk to the station it started hailing on us. Not big, you know, hailstones, but tiny little, you know, it's hailing, my goodness. And then it was raining on the train home, but thankfully was dry by the time we got to the station, and we got away with it on our walk home. So yes, all good. And I have fluff. And it's not yarn. It's just it will be, with a bit of luck. Okay folks, now what we have here is my first attempt at drop spindle spinning. And we have some thick and thin yarn, I think we can see that. Let me just unwind it a bit and you can see what I mean. Now some people pay a lot of money for yarn that's like that. I'm not one of them, but some people do. So I am having a go, and that's what it's about. It's about learning, it's about making mistakes. Now I realise that I have truly wonderful podcast viewers, and you are possibly sitting there thinking, oh God, Leslie, don't do that, do this, do this. Can I ask, just for the moment, until I ask for help, can you just kind of let me find my own way? Because I really do appreciate the help that I'm offered, but in this case I think I've just got to kind of do it myself until I get better at it. So I'm using the park and draft method, which is where you've got a lovely view of my stomach and chest area, because I'm parking the draft between my knees, sitting at my desk at the moment because I'm watching the YouTube video on how to do this, and this is kind of where we're at. So let me get this right. I've got to put my fibre there. Oh gosh, it's all going very strange. So I know it's very thick and thin. This won't be yarn for using. Might be yarn for weaving. Might be quite funky woven up, but it won't be yarn for kind of knitting or crochet. Right, now if I'm reading this right, I have to spin it. Park it. draft it, and I've just got to the end of a thin bit I was using, so that's why I've got two bits together here. And then I let this one go, and the spin goes up the thread. Oh, it's super exciting, isn't it? I mean, I do have these big kind of bumpy bits in the middle. I think I'm not drafting enough. It's a little bit scary because if you've, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the converted with a lot of spinners, but drafting, you feel like you're just pulling it too far. So that's why I'm very thick and thin. I really do think the more I look at this, the more I think I'm going to weave with it, because I think it will make quite an interesting project. So let's try again. So we spin it. Let's spin it some more because I like this action. Oh, hello. I should have the fluff over my arm or something useful. Park it. Draft it. Let go. And watch bits of fluff fall apart, which they will. That's okay. The principle is sound, it's just getting the practice and the rhythm that's right, I think. So, yeah. So far, so interesting. I like to think I'm creating my own art fibre here. Like I say, for some people this is a premium product, not for me, but you know, it's not all about me. So I'm going to keep plodding on and hopefully get a more even, thread as I work. So this monstrosity here is my first ball of handspun. And I know it looks like nothing on earth. That's okay, it was my first attempt. You should have seen my first knitting project. But that was long before YouTube. I think it was long before photography, I'm that old. Anyway, so you can see the beginning is very floofy and not very tightly spun. But I'm going to wind it on a bit and hopefully show how things improved a little during the process. So with this section here, you can see it's a little bit tightly spun. There are bits of it curling. But it is a longer piece of thread with a more even consistency, so there was some progress. And even wound into a ball, you can see all the thick and thin. But it's a first attempt. The colours are still pretty. I don't know what I'm going to use it for, if anything. I might keep it as a museum piece of my first attempt at spinning, but I'm not unhappy with it. I mean, I'm not delighted, obviously, because it's not a usable yarn, really, but no, it's a first attempt and that's fine. And it's pretty colours. This is the part of the show I'm going to call People Give Leslie Stuff because everything I'm about to show you has been given to me and I'm just so grateful. No one is under any obligation to give me anything at any time. I'd just like to put that out there, but if people do, they are just so kind and I'm absolutely thrilled. So first of all, we have some project bags which were sent by Susie, who is in Auckland, New Zealand, and she makes these herself. To my knowledge, she doesn't sell them, she does it for interest and to use up fabric. So we have 3 project bags, one of them and 2 to be given away. So thank you so much, Sue, you are absolutely great. And we've already been communicating and you know that I've got these safely and that they've arrived and I love them, but just really want to thank you again on this forum because you are very kind. So I'm going to show you these bits of gorgeousness, and they have a pocket inside so you can put stuff in. So this first one, lovely New Zealand birds, and they're a good size, they are absolutely great. So we have that one, which is fab. We have this one, again very New Zealand, lots of New Zealand landscapes, animals, Maori crafts. So an absolutely lovely item, and I think this is the one I'm going to keep, so thank you very much. And then this third one, different style altogether. See all these kids, and these remind me of the kind of, looking at the eyes, they remind me of the kind of Japanese anime with those big round eyes sort of design. So again, thank you so much, Sue, that is really appreciated. And in amongst the parcel there was also this beautiful progress keeper, which I'm hoping will focus if I move my face out the way. It's a heifer lamp. Try that on my sleeve, it might show up better. So that is gorgeous. My Ravelry Ravatar is an elephant that I knitted for my sister. She loves elephants, and so thank you so much for that. That is just gorgeous. Again, let me try and show that nicely. Oh, I don't know if it's going to focus or not, but thank you, that is beautiful. And so on to more things I've been given. I'm just such a lucky girl. I mentioned last month, I think, the Jamie shawl, which Marianne had very kindly given me via Ravelry, and I finished it. The yarn was given to me by Claire of Faroese podcast, who was having a de-stash. So she gave me the yarn, and it was some Noro Silk Garden Light, and she'd tried a few things with it and unpicked them. So there was a couple of balls, there were some part balls, there were some bits and pieces that she'd unravelled, and not anymore, because they are, ta-da! So this is the Jamie shawl by Cozy Up Knits, and it's a fairly straightforward pattern. It's got different sections in it. So there is some texture, which I'm hoping you can see. There are some garter and stocking stitch rows. There are some bobbles. They're quite small bobbles. They weren't showing up at first. When I blocked this, I sort of picked through to make them stand up before I sprayed it all with water. And again, eyelets and some texture. Now, one thing in the pattern, they recommend you kind of modify it and say, well, if you don't want to do this section, do something else. And that's what I did, because this texture pattern involving slip stitches, I felt it was kind of getting lost in the colour of the yarn, where the yarn colours were changing as the rows got longer. I thought it showed up quite nicely here, where you had wider bands of stripe because of the length of the rows, but I felt it was getting a little bit lost, so I put in another eyelet row and some garter to get the same number of rows, but not following the pattern exactly, because there should have been two of the texture. The other thing was, it's recommended with an I-cord bind off, and I didn't do this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it take a long time, and it's a lot of stitches, and I get bored easy. This is actually a good pattern for the bored easy. I think Marianne knew that when she very kindly gave it to me, because just as you're getting to the point where you're thinking, oh, I've done a few of those, then the pattern changes, so it does keep your interest, particularly as the rows are getting bigger, because normally I start at the outside and work in. So that worked well for me from that point of view. Also, by not doing the I-cord bind off, it saved me breaking into the last ball of the yarn. So I have a complete ball of yarn. And the other thing was, because it's Noro, I didn't want kind of stripes going this way as well as the stripes this way, because I thought we're going to end up with almost like blocks of colour along the edge, which I didn't really want. I felt they would be a distraction from the stripes of the shawl. So instead I did my usual bind off, which cast off. I keep using these American terms. I apologise to my British viewers and hope that I'm okay with my American viewers and anyone else in the world. So so I used my usual cast off, which is a suspended cast off, but I found that that was a little tight. So what I was doing was every 3 stitches I would cast off 3 stitches, and then I would just put the yarn around the needle, put the stitch over the yarn, almost making like a crochet chain, just to give it a little bit of flexibility. And then when I blocked it, I pinned at those places, so it's got a very slight sort of wavy edge, but that was kind of how that was created. So it's not part of the pattern, it was just a bit of improvisation of my own part and how I blocked it. Very, very happy with this. This is my year of the shawl, as we know, and that's why Marianne very kindly gave me this pattern. So thank you very much. It is a nice, warm, snuggly one. Quite big, so obviously wear it like this. The reason why I like shawls is when I'm in my office working, it's my neck and shoulders that get cold. So I actually quite often wear them like this. I know it looks kind of, you know, old peasant woman style, but actually that's fine with me because I'm an old peasant and I'm a woman, so you know that's good. Yeah, really happy with it. Can't think of anything else to say except thank you again for the yarn and the pattern, and another shawl made. I can't believe how quickly I'm going through these. I do have the next one planned, and I'm going to pause this for just a moment while I get the pattern. So the next shawl I'm going to make is Harper's Ferry by Tamara Gore, or Tammy Gore. It uses a ball of fingering weight, 400 meters, a ball of mohair, and then bits and pieces. I think the bits and pieces, I think she recommends 6 minis of about 50 yards each. I am possibly going to vary that slightly, of course, because I've got a few colours that are more than 50 yards, so I'll probably double up on colours rather than have lots of different ones. But that's the plan. So I'm currently working out what yarns to make that out of, and I'm looking forward to it. The description is play with slip stitches, short rows and minis to create a bold, fun piece you'll absolutely love to knit and wear. Well, let's hope so. Sounded quite aggressive. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a different shape. It's one of these that's kind of long on these long asymmetrical shawls, and I've not done one of those yet, so this will be the first one of those. So that's Harper's Ferry by Tammy Gore will be my next shawl, and the Jamie shawl from Cozy Up Knits is my most recent one. So very happy with that. Love the colours, especially love the pastels on this. I think they're really pretty. So very happy with that. I'm going to be so warm this winter. Oh. Just one other thing I've been making, a couple of little things. Since having my hair cut, I feel a bit more exposed, I think, so I've been wearing more makeup, and that requires removing more makeup. So I've started making a couple of little makeup removers, and I'll carry on with these just using scraps. So this is made out of the leftovers from the big red cotton hoodie that I wear. This is some 4-ply weight cotton cardigan I crocheted some years ago. So really simple. If I hold it close, you'll be able to see the pattern basically. I start off with a magic loop. That's a crochet magic loop, not a knitted one. So it's just a loop of fabric? No, it's not. A loop of yarn that you work into and then pull tight to close up the centre. And inside that, these are all UK terms, 6 double crochet stitches, the next round 12 double crochet stitches, the next round 24 treble stitches, so 2 in each one, and then the final round I do 1 into the next stitch, 2 into the next, 1 into the next stitch, 2 into the next, and that's it. So to translate it into US terms, I'm sure you'd be able to do this for yourself, but it's single crochet for the first 2 rounds and double crochet for the second 2. So I'm just going to carry on with these, just with odd scraps of cotton. I've got quite a few scraps, so they're going to be all different colours, but that's really not something that bothers me, given that I'm just going to stick my cellar water on them and scrape them over my face to get all the gunk off. So yeah, that's that then. Yeah, so a couple of little things and I'll keep on with these. Useful way of using up the cotton scraps. Actually, maybe I should douse them in cucumber water and put them on. No. Now, just another very quick acquisition. A couple of months ago I showed you some yarn that the very kind and lovely Maria from our knitting group gave me, and she found another 2 balls of it. So this is Patons Colourworks Aran, and she gave me 11 balls and I now have another 2, so thank you, Maria. It's a lovely soft yarn. It's what's it made of? Acrylic wool and polyamide. Lovely soft stuff, so I shall find a suitable project. Now, people who saw the podcast last year, towards the end of the summer, may remember that I inherited a lot of yarn. A friend sadly died early last year, and her husband sent me 2 boxes of yarn. And now, apologies for any barking you hear, it's next door's dog. It's spring, it's warm, we've got windows open, it's wonderful, so it means you can hear them. So yeah. So back to Karen's yarn from last year, and it was a long time before I could really work out what to do with it. It almost doesn't feel like mine. Sorry. But I'm getting to the stage where I can, and if you saw last month's episode, you'll have seen that I made a lace scarf with some mohair for a friend's birthday. I'm making some stuff for Karen's family, and I'm working on that. You'll see those things when they're done. But there are also 3 friends that I would like to make stuff for. So one, it was her birthday last month, so she had the scarf. One project I'm about to show you, and Belinda, if I'm watching, spoiler alert, you're getting a birthday present. I'll have made it, that's all I'm saying at this stage. So. It's going to be a day for talkative dogs. I've got a small gobby dog. Yes. Now, when I opened the boxes last year, in among all the yarn was a part-made blanket. Sorry, I had to pause for a lot of dog barking there. My neighbour's got some visitors and they've got a small dog who barks a lot, so mind saying hello? I think that's what she's saying. So yes, I had a bit of an oh my gosh moment when I opened the box, because this blanket was in there and I'm pretty sure that my friend was making the squares for it the last time there was a group of us all together. And some folks very kindly said, finish the blanket. Yeah, it's a great idea, except this is me. Knitted full-size blanket? No. I'm sorry, it's a wonderful idea. I would love to have the patience. But no, I really haven't. Sorry. No. So what I've decided to do is to kind of square up the square. She had a few odd bits kind of sticking out, and I've decided to kind of square it up and edge it. So this will be going to a very good friend of hers and someone I'm very, very fond of, the lovely Lynn. Oh, love her to bits. And it's kind of, it's a decent size. I mean, that's my wingspan and I'm kind of on the edge. Well, some would say I'm on the edge anyway, but you know, so I'm definitely on the edges of the blanket. So it is a good size. So that's what I've done. And what I did was I took 3 squares at a time, picked up stitches. Now obviously my gauge is a little bit looser than Karen's gauge, so it's a little bit frilly. I'm hoping Lynn won't mind. But yeah, so I picked up the stitches and I just did a knit one, purl one row, plain knit the other. I call it a broken rib, but I think that's one of those terms that has 3 or 4 different stitch patterns attached to it. But that's what it is. And I just did 10 rows of that and then cast it off. At the corners I increased so there was a mitre, and it was just to give an edge to the blanket. So I've done that all the way around, and this will go off to Lynn. By the time this podcast goes up, hopefully she'll have opened it. Happy birthday, Lynn, by the way. And I hope you like your blanket, because Karen made most of it. I just wove in the ends and edged it. So it's been an odd project to work on emotionally, and I was wondering for a long time how best to do it, because Karen was a very neat crafter. She made beautiful toys, she made lovely socks, and she was quite precise, and things that she did very neat. And you know, that's not me. So it was then sort of thinking, well, do I try and emulate that and probably drive myself a bit mad and worry about not being good enough? Or do I just think, no, this is a combination of her work and mine? And it made sense to go with the latter. I shouldn't try and be other people, I should just try and be myself. And so that's what I've done. So I'm hoping that Lynn likes the blanket. I mean, we're getting towards summer, so it'll be a bit warm for her to use, but it'll be cosy come the autumn, and I hope that she likes it. I will fold it up neatly as well, by the way, before I post it to her. Now the yarn is Debbie Bliss Fine Donegal. This yarn has numbers rather than names for colourways, so I'm not going to go into too much detail as to what they all are, because you can see them. Yeah. But it's 95% wool and 5% cashmere. As a yarn, it's not one that I would kind of rush to choose, I've got to be honest. It's pretty, and it's got lots of sort of neps of colour, so it all kind of goes in nicely together. All the colours have bits of the other shades in them. But it's not the softest, and you know me, I like my super soft, silky merino, cashmere, soft as a baby's backside sort of yarn. And also it's the way it's plied, I think it's a single ply, and it pulls apart quite easily. When I was sewing in ends, if I tugged too hard on the darning needle, it would kind of pull and break. So it's not the type of yarn I would necessarily go for, but it will be beautifully warm. And as a blanket, it will hopefully do the job nicely. I do have some of it left, which I will use at some point. I mean, I'm not going to not use it, but and I do love the colours. I mean, these kind of jewel tones are pretty fabulous, so I do love the colours. But yeah, it's not one I'd kind of rush to go out and get, but it's a good yarn for the right project. And Karen had chosen well for this project. So there we go, that's that blanket. So I'm going to post this off to the lovely Lynn in time for her birthday, and I hope that she likes it. It's Easter Sunday as I'm recording this, and I've had a very nice day. Family came to visit. We went and looked at some classic cars which are on display in kind of the next town along to us, and then we had lunch at home, and yeah, just a really nice day with the family. And by the way, this isn't an Instagram filter, I'm actually wearing these, and folks sort of say to me sometimes, Les, if you don't have a strong religious faith, why do you make a fuss about Easter? I'm really not sure. Right, lovely people. The Janelle cardigan by Dora Orenstein. When you saw it on last month's podcast, I'd got to here. When I came back from my retreat, I'd got to here. And now it is done. Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. Now it's quite a long line jacket, so I'm going to put some footage here of me wearing it so you get a sense of the overall kind of shape and silhouette. I said I wasn't going to be a prat, didn't I? Okay, so hopefully that will give you a good idea of what it looks like on me. Here is the pattern. So the pattern came from Top Down Crochet Sweaters by Dora Orenstein. I don't know if it's Orenstein or Orenstein. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing it, but hopefully you've seen from the cover the lady's name. Can that be seen? Yes, it can. That's good. And it is the Janelle sweater. Cardigan, rather. So the idea is that it has a sort of waterfall effect at the front, and the stitch pattern has left me with a bit of a quandary. I've actually made this reversible, not because both sides are the same, but because I can't decide which stitch pattern I like better. So the stitches are linked stitches, in this case trebles UK terminology, doubles US terminology, and on what would be the right side for the rows when you're working the trebles, you can see you've got those lines. It's almost like a form of Tunisian crochet, so you get those lines that you get with Tunisian simple stitch. However, the back of it is also a very interesting texture. So I have left it and made sure I finished it in such a way that I could wear it either way out, because that's how I roll. So like I say, the pattern is Janelle. I have made some modifications, of course. In theory, in the original pattern, it has an unfinished edge and it just hangs in a kind of waterfall style. I didn't feel that was quite right for me. I wanted more definition, especially around the neck. So what I did was, once I got to the bottom, I just did 3 rows of half doubles US, half trebles UK, and also went all the way around, up around the neckline and back down the other side, and I did that 3 times. Now the reason why I did it 3 times is I wasn't sure how the neckline would fall. I'm quite round shouldered, and this is a round yoke jacket, and when I tried it on whilst I was making it to check for fit and so forth, it felt as if it was going to slide off my shoulders a bit too much. So in putting the 3 rows of 3 extra rows in, I made some buttonholes, and because I wanted to make it reversible, I put them on both sides because I wasn't sure what I was doing. Having since finished it and tried it on, because of the extra height that these rows have given the neckline, when I've been trying it on, it doesn't feel like it's slipping. So hopefully it's all good. But I have the option there to put the cardigan clip, a tie, perhaps 2 buttons on a chain or something. So I've left that option open. Other modification, I think I did it slightly longer. I think it should have been, I think I did 1 more repeat of rows before I put my edging on, and the edging of course added length. The other thing I did, and I could have done this around the edging on the front and the neck, but as it had finished in this lovely cream colour, and that's how the yarn had fallen, I felt that gave it edge enough. But on the sleeves, let me hold that up, I just did a crab stitch edging on the end of the sleeves, just to give it a nice finished look on the cuff. Very simple pattern once you get used to the stitches. So it's a round yoke. You've got kind of stepped increases along the neckline, and then just a round yoke, split for the sleeves, and then work down, and you just have increases just to give it that kind of A-line waterfall flowing sort of shape. The yarn is Noro, because it would appear that everything I make is made of Noro, of course. I was thinking about Noro because I do use it a lot, but it's by no means the best yarn you can buy. And I've realised that for me, Noro is the yarn equivalent of junk food, because you know that it's going to be very thick and thin because of the way it's made. You know it's going to have knots in it, and you're suddenly going to change colour really violently. You know that it's going to tangle around itself because of the way it's very tightly spun in places. But like junk food, sometimes you just fancy it, and you're just going to use it anyway. So this is my junk food. No, I won't call it that, because that does the pattern a disservice. But I kind of have that relationship with Noro, that it's a bit like a big old rubbishy burger that every now and again you just think, cool, I could go one of those. But back to more important matters. So this is Noro, what's it called? A Silk Garden Sock. I had 2,100 metres of it, which was 7 balls. I now have 56 grams, which is 168 metres. So this, which was in the largest size, is 1,932 metres. The yarn, it's a sport weight yarn, and it's 40% wool, 40% wool, 25% silk, and 25% nylon. And it's in a very sensible colour for me. I normally go for the brights, but every now and again I like to make items that I can wear in my work when I'm visiting families and so forth. So, so yes, quite a sensible one, and I think I will get a lot of use out of this. I think it will be a handy throw-on sort of item. Not sure what else to say about that. I used a 5.5mm hook, which is what I needed to give me the same gauge as the pattern. In hindsight, perhaps it wouldn't have mattered if I'd gone for a slightly larger hook and given myself a slightly drapier fabric, but I'm pleased with that the way it is. I've just got to decide which way round I want to wear it, and I might change with the wind like that. I can be a bit like that. So just to recap, Noro Silk Garden Sock, and it's the Janelle pattern by Dora Orenstein from this book. And this is the one where I said, you know, it's all in the same yarn, so I'm going off brand a little here. Please be assured it won't happen again for a while. I've been asked to change my camera angle so you can see what I'm working on. But it's kind of going weird with the light. So apologies if it looks as if I'm in a discotheque, as they used to call them, with flashing lights. I'll try and keep still so that it stays solid. It is a beautiful day. So obviously I've spent it in the prettiest of places, the cemetery. I have a ceremony in a little while, so just doing a bit of crochet before I go in to prepare for my service. Yeah, gorgeous weather, really sunny and not as warm as it looks. There's apparently some air coming in from Scandinavia, which is keeping us a little cooler, but it is absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, this cemetery is a bit gorgeous anyway. Has views over the valley, it has views to sea. It's really lovely, but it can be a bit of a microclimate. So if we've got good weather here, then it'll be absolutely glorious on the seafront, because this is quite high up, and quite often it
it gets much worse weather than you get in other parts of the town, just because it's at such an incline to the beach. But yeah, glorious day. Not a lot to say really. Cat blanket, using up scraps. I am bringing to an end my subscription to the magazine, which normally provided these little balls of yarn. Nothing wrong with it. It hasn't changed. Just I can't remember when I last knitted anything from it, and I can't remember when I last designed for it. So as I'm now subscribing to other magazines, obviously it can't be an endless money pit of stuff. So I'm bringing that subscription to an end. So I won't have little balls of acrylic double knitting weight yarn anymore. But I'm sure I can find plenty of stuff in the stash that I can make charity projects with. It's not all merino cashmere, that's all I can say. I'm not sure this is really working. I think the light is just behaving in too strange a way, because I just seem to keep going in and out of darkness.
Right, my lovelies, I think we're nearly done for this month. Doesn't appear to have been that much on the knitting and crochet front, although I suppose I've finished a big project, so it kind of makes sense. Also, quick spinning update. This was my first ball of yarn, which I showed you earlier. Excuse me. When I bought the fleeces, I bought 3 of them. I haven't done the third one yet, but this is the second. So I hope we can see the improvement if I take my face out of it. Now that just looks odd. Certainly, yes, I mean there are still thick bits in there and bits that aren't right, but relatively speaking, more consistent. So I am feeling as though I'm improving, and practice is what's needed, so that's what I'm going to do. I would start juggling, except I can't actually juggle, so I won't do that. Also, there has been a bit of stash acquisition. Lovely. The lovely Claire, hi Claire, actually when this goes up she'll probably be on a flight because she's going back home. She lives in Canada. She was home visiting her mum, who I've known for a long time, and went round and had a cup of tea with them, and she very kindly gave me this ball of yarn. It's not a ball, it's a skein obviously, but she very kindly gave it to me. So this is Black Cat custom yarn, which is local to her. She lives in Vancouver. It's their Blingtron 400 base, and I don't know if it's showing up, but there is 10%, no 16% silver stellina in here, so it's very sparkly. And the other percentage, the 84%, is superwash merino wool, and it's in their electric dragonfly colourway. Don't know if that's focusing or not, hopefully. But it is very pretty. You've got kind of greens and turquoises in here, plus purples, into blues. A lot of my favourite colours in one skein of yarn there. And she knows me well because she thought these were my colours, but she said, look, don't feel obliged if you don't like it and you want to give it away, and I see it on the podcast being given away, I won't be insulted. And then we laughed and laughed and laughed, because I'm sorry, this isn't going anywhere. This is mine now. You're my yarn now. Sorry. So, stop stroking the yarn, Leslie. So yeah, so this is Black Cat custom yarn, and it's their electric dragonfly on their Blingtron 400 base, and it is very, very pretty. So thank you again, Claire, really kind of you. She'd made a shawl for her mum out of this. It's a Hohi Locatelli pattern, and it looks absolutely beautiful. She did lovely work on it in very pretty yarns, so I'm a lucky girl. But I knew that already, and I am very grateful. So that's April done. As this is uploading, I will be drumming. We're doing a kind of fair fate type of thing. And tomorrow we've got a parade, which is quite a short parade. All the local Scout and Cubs groups do a parade for St George's Day, which was on Tuesday, and they do it the weekend after. So we'll be in the local park drumming away. If I come across any footage, I will link to it in the next podcast. The difficulty is, of course, I can't record it while I'm doing it, so apologies that I talk about this stuff and don't then show you footage of it. But yes, we will be drumming. I will be made up in black and red, and we'll be making a row. That's what we do. So I think we're done. Thank you again to everyone who watches, who comments, and as always, I do try to respond to all comments. Sometimes YouTube doesn't tell me they've come in, so I'm a bit delayed, but if I don't respond to you, that is a genuine error. If I don't like something you said, I'll discuss it with you. You know, that's fine, but that's not happened yet. Stop arguing with yourself, Leslie. Stop talking to yourself, Leslie. That's the third time now. Maybe it is time I stopped. No, massive thank you to everyone who watches the podcast, who comments. If you haven't yet subscribed and you'd like to, please do. You only get one notification a month from me because that's how often I put the podcast up. And if I get to 3,000 subscribers, I will do a giveaway. And you've got these lovely natural yarns, naturally dyed yarns, Shetland wool that I got in Eastbourne, and this fabulous bag full of New Zealand birds that was made for me by Sue in Auckland. And actually, I've just noticed really lovely fabric on the inside as well. So, great stuff. So please do subscribe if you haven't, and you'll have a chance of winning this lovely prize. May, lots of drumming, lots of bank holidays. It must, if you're not in the UK, it must seem like we don't work in the spring, because we have a lot of bank holidays all at once with the Easter break, and then the May Day bank holiday and the spring bank holiday at the end of the month. So hopefully that means I'll get lots of crafting done. Fingers crossed. So I'll bring you up to speed with my projects next month. But thank you so much. Really appreciate. There are so many podcasts out there. I am struggling to keep up with them all. Definitely watch the Mean Girls. They put one up a few weeks ago. So hi Rebecca and Stephanie. I love their stuff, I really do. Thanks again to everyone who watches. I really appreciate that there is a huge amount of choice, so if you choose to spend an hour with me, it means a great deal, it really does. Have a good month, everyone. I hope that you get time to do the things that you enjoy, and that everything you do on the crafting front goes well for you, and you're happy with all the things you make. Take care. See you at the end of May. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.